getting a labradoodle and playing in the snow and
Yeah, that's my
think
vibe, Dave.
you know, and I
you
want to
got me
think about what
nailed.
we're going to plant in the spring together.
My sons took me for a goose hunt. It was fabulous. Charlie wasn't on the goose hunt, but
that's what
I
they
use
that's
I use
what they're
I use
calling
it as an
nowadays.
excuse to go see
The
him.
goose hunt.
That's what they're
Yes,
calling
we've
it
heard
nowadays.
of that's what you're calling
Yeah,
it these
okay.
days.
Where'd the goose
Okay.
go?
Okay.
Oh, good.
Welcome to the David Maris Institute for the Self-Amused. I'll be your host, Banks.
All right, we'll show you some love here. We're going to get started. Sorry if we're late, everybody. I'm Nadine Turman.
We've
got David Maris. We've got Kevin Baker here on Wall Street Beats, powered by Passes. We're on the broadcast, having a little bit of fun. Just hearing a little bit about Mystic and a fun time that, it's nice to know that our colleagues have a fun time together off the show, too. So we can have fun time on and off the show. Lots of good people here. So I'm going to kick it off, David. I know you're lamenting that maybe the market's weakening from how it started off. What are you looking at today? What's big in your portfolio? Anything during earnings season that you're especially looking for? Give me the scoop.
Oh, that's a whole bunch of stuff. I need to
I just
also
want
retweet
everything. Give me
I
the
also
best.
need
Give me
to
the best.
retweet this. I also need to retweet it.
All right.
Hold on. Give me just a second before I retweet. Share.
Oh boy, is this like a walk along where we're gonna do it all together with you?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, because I have to. Let's think of what I should write. Stop.
David's getting older.
Live. And it's a hashtag live
Hit enter.
now.
Yeah.
Okay, and then I'll just post it, and it's a post of me smiling, so that's a rare one.
Nice. That's good.
All right. So yeah, I said when we were chatting before we started that I like when the market opens up strong and it's you extrapolate it, and the same thing happened the other day when we were down so much, right? What a lot of investors do is they extrapolate the worst. This is the first turn. I've heard so many people say that the market's going to crash in 2026, and guess what? This is the start of it. And
oh my gosh. I was on Ben on that yesterday. I was like, you would think that the market crashed, but it actually was up yesterday. It's like, some of us made money buying into the one-day dip,
Yeah, and that's the thing is like if you have a discipline and you have companies that you really like, and I'm not saying that in a shakeout that you shouldn't revisit all of them and say, wait, am I just lazy on this? Have I owned it for a long time? And should I be here anyway? And maybe not sell on the worst day, but yeah, that's what you do is people extrapolate the worst, and it's good to have either someone in your corner. So if you're working alone, it's hard to have that. So it's good to have a spouse that doesn't panic maybe, but to have someone that you're working with that says, hey, calm down.
Yeah.
Overall, I mean, if this is long-term money, don't worry. That kind of walking it through. And so I'd like to say, I joke that I called a therapist to help me out the other day, but it was just the discipline of like, you know what, we're still even for the year, and January's not over. Relax. It's not. It feels bad, but it's not. This earnings season for pharma doesn't really kick off for another week and a half. I'm still in all the ones that I've been in. I haven't really moved around a lot. This EBS is a small cap name that I've looked at, I've bought, I've mentioned before. They do biohazard type drugs like anthrax vaccine. So it's a government business. It's lumpy. And so you never know what their quarter is really going to look like. I think it's super cheap. I did buy a little bit more when it dipped down. My cost basis is right around where we are right now. So I think it's a attractive stock for the long term. But it is a management team that has blown up previous companies too. So we'll be careful, keep it the appropriate size. One that I did want to talk about today, though, is Haleon, which in this storm of bad stock, violent moves, actually performed exactly how you'd want a defensive stock to perform. It was up during that time. Now, in times that the market's running, sometimes it's down or it's flat. And you say, well, how come it's not participating? Well, if you know that you own a defensive name and not a super high growth name, you should accept that. Just say, I have different things for different. If your electricity goes out, you don't call your plumber. You have different stocks for different jobs.
I thought you
And
were gonna say different strokes for different folks. I felt like
no,
it was right on the tip of your tongue.
no. But no, I never actually really watched that show. It was popular
Yeah,
during my growing up
yeah.
time, but I was
Wasn't your
more
thing.
yeah, it wasn't my thing. I didn't
Facts
like the
of life.
colonial facts of life though, and Blair still hasn't answered my emails. So to be clear, but
So
we'll
we'll go back to all right, back
there
to
should be a
healthcare.
fact. By the way, I would pay to watch a Facts of Life reunion of like, where are they now? Not like a live, like a real thing, because you can Google that and find out. What I mean is like,
Like a
okay, is
fake
Joe
AI
running?
generated?
Yeah,
Like,
is
what's
Joe
Joe
running like
doing? Yeah.
yeah.
She's
So
running a gym,
Can
like
you
a
get back on
Gold's
the
Gym.
rails?
oh, back on the rails.
See,
So the fact so the facts of life here are that Halion is a defensive name and it goes up in bad markets. I asked Kevin to take a look at it of what it looks like. It's kind of round tripped in a year,
Okay.
and I still like it. I still think that it's a
Okay.
slow growth, steady, pay
Tell
down
people the
debt type
ticker.
of
What's the
company.
ticker?
HLN. They're the company that
Okay.
makes like Tums and Sensodyne
Right, right,
toothpaste, the things that people will always buy, I believe will
right.
always buy, and is a great defensive name. So I don't know, Kevin, I don't know if you had a chance to take a look at it. What does it look like to you?
no, it's perking up, and I like to see what exactly you talked about, which is a higher volume, not monstrous, but a higher volume accumulation of people when other stocks are going down. It takes out if it and when it takes out 1031 here, which is a nickel away. But I want to see it. I want to see it do it on above average volume. This 200-day is flat, but I mean, if you squint, it could turn up tomorrow or today or next week, and that would be promising. It's going to eat through a lot of resistance. I mean, there's a lot of people that have been have losses in this, and so you got to fight through that. But it looks promising, especially with a close above 1031.
Yeah, that's part of what I thought for the end of last year. I mentioned it on a show before we closed out 2025, which is this is a great candidate for tax loss selling too, because it kind of was down. It doesn't have any hot prospects that there's a catalyst next week that you have to be in.
Right.
So maybe what we're seeing is also people just returning to it. But I like it. It's boring. So I'm glad the chart doesn't look too bad.
Hateful.
Yeah, one
Okay.
one that had news today that I haven't revisited in a while. I still own it. I haven't sold a share. Is Lifetime Health (LTH). Lifetime
Okay.
Group Holdings really is its official name, but they just pre-announced, and it was a great fourth quarter. The guide for next year is solid. The net income number is down a little bit, but there's some funky stuff in it. So adjusted is actually good growth, mid-teens growth. Overall, they're doing exactly what they should be doing. The risk is that if the economy weakens, this is something that people will cut back on. So you might not cut
Okay.
back on Sensodyne toothpaste if you have sensitive teeth, or if you love Tums, like the chewable tropical flavor Tums, which
And
are
who
delicious.
doesn't?
We're
I
learning a
mean,
lot about you. Go ahead.
I'm just actually, what's funny?
Psychopath.
I did a tour of Halion, and I know the CEO, and I said to him beforehand, I had texted the IR person, like, by the way, the new intro of Tropical Tums is amazing. It's great, chewable, fantastic. So I show up to this analyst day, and the IR, they have a team of people. They're like, "Oh, you're the Tums guy." I go, "What do you mean I'm the Tums guy?" He's like, "You really love Tums, don't you?" I go, "Well, yeah. I mean, I like Tums. I really." They're like, "No, we've heard." So
Love.
they give me this gift box, like gift bag of like 10 things
Oh.
of Tums. So I was like, "All right, well,
Now, has
I'm
that
still."
swayed? Have they bribed you to be like going long this stock? No, I'm
It
kidding.
had to be less than $100 in value, so I
Yeah,
made sure
that's
that it
right.
was. I was like, "Okay."
Okay.
No, I loved Tums long before I knew them. But all right, so Lifetime Group Holdings, they put out a good quarter, put out a good guidance. This is one though that if the economy gets worse, if you're paying $500 for a gym, you might choose to go to something that's less splashy, less
Yeah.
nice. Um, Now, I think that if you do believe in this K-shaped economy that's going on, then you can bet on this and say, well, this is still going well.
Winner.
They mentioned some new openings for next year. It's pretty modest, which is good. I owned a stock, Soho House, which some people might know, that they ran into trouble because they just kept opening things without running the ones that they have. So one of the great data points that Lifetime does put out is same store growth and also per enrollee growth or per member growth. Both are showing really strong growth. So same store growth is in the mid single digits, upper single digits. Per person growth is I'm doing this from memory, so I might be wrong, but is low double digits. So people are spending more. They're doing better at each one that's been open for a while. So I like it. I mean, I still
All
like
right.
it. Little bit more nervous on that than I am Tums. Tums I sleep perfectly with. I don't worry about.
Hey, David, why does Planet Fitness look so bad when Lifetime looks like it's perking up?
Well, I mean, Lifetime did kind of be sideways for a while, right? If you look at that chart, I don't know the dates here, but if we look from after the start of the year,
Yeah.
it was kind of flat for a long time. And so it had a great run. And I think now it's just it consolidated it, and now it's going.
Right.
Planet Fitness is just a very different animal. I mean, it is still a gym, but you're paying whatever it is nowadays, $15 a month or something, and some equipment's working, some equipment's not. And I'm not trying to, rain on
Bash the
their
other. Yeah.
parade. Yeah, but if you just read the user experience is very different. They're not trying to thrill you and have you have like people when you go into a Lifetime, if you're a member, they know your name. They're kind of friendlier. I've been into a couple Planet Fitnesses, and they're surprisingly nicer, much nicer than a YMCA, but they don't have the amenities. You're not playing pickleball at a Planet Fitness.
Yeah.
Let's see what else. Oh, so you asked me what else am I looking at?
Yes.
I'm not gonna get into it, but I am starting to look at a whole bunch of Nordic companies.
Okay.
I knew I'd get a laugh
I'm not
out of
going to
it.
get into it. All right. No. I mean, I invest over there, so yeah.
Yeah, I think I love markets where there are large pension plans that have to buy the same small group
Country.
of
Yeah.
companies, in that country. And what happens is when they blow up, they tend to come back slowly, but come back. They're not companies where I don't ever have to own this company again. I also found I used to work for a Scandinavian brokerage firm. I found that in general, the management teams are more believable and they're focused on more of the longer term issues. So
Sure.
I'll go into next week if I do what I'm thinking of doing, which is what I did with the Japanese sleeve. I bought a sleeve of companies, 15, 20, and said, okay, this is going to be a diversification strategy. Let me do this.
Why not just buy the country ETF tickers?
Yeah, because you own some like slower growth things, you own some speculative things. I'm trying to find that are profitable. So I want profitable, steady growth companies where hopefully over time they're going to be compounders. So like there's one company that makes prosthetics that I'm looking at. Well, that's a business that could be changed pretty dramatically with 3D printing and the rest. There's some changes going on there, but in general, it's a very embedded market that not only the patients are after they're comfortable with one prosthetic that they stay with that brand, but on top of that, it's like a dealer network, like a relationship network, and so you have structural reasons that there's a stickiness too. So it's like a CPAP type business where the hospitals have their relationships. So I'm getting to know it a lot better. I think I actually like it. So sort of like a couple I know that went to Nantucket or to Mystic, and they're like, I think I like you. I'm starting to like you. So
Maris, New Jersey's not that far away. You know that, right?
but that's really it. I mean, and for earnings season, I mean, I'm sticking with the large pharmas that I own. I mentioned Viatris to Kevin. I don't know if you'd had a chance to take a look at that one. Ben had actually asked me about it. I own Viatris. I own a bunch of generic companies. This is one of the most hated part of the overall market. And when people
Shouldn't
hate
be.
a certain sector, I kind of like those. So Teva did really well.
Right.
Viatris is acting really
I
well.
mean, Tebda's
Um,
done really, really well. I've owned that. I knew that name before you mentioned it, but I was just looking incredible.
Yeah. And that one, it's an execution story on Teva, Teva.
Yeah. Yeah.
Viatris is obviously all stories are execution, but theirs is more like, hey, can we put together a few good quarters? And
Uh-huh.
I like it less than Teva, even though Teva's more expensive, but it is
Right.
a super cheap name. It is a super
Okay.
cheap name. So I own some. I don't own a
Is this
lot.
the
So it
old
sounds like
Mylan?
Bakes did. Yeah,
This is
Bakes
the
looks
old
like you
Mylan.
looked at the data.
Okay.
Yeah, and so
Yeah.
Kevin, you understand why I wouldn't like them historically, because Mylan was run by possibly the most abhorrent second, third, top 5 abhorrent
Yeah.
CEO I personally have ever known. Now, people might say, well, that's pretty harsh to say.
No, you're being kind.
Yeah, but if you look, by the way, at the stock chart over the period of time that he was there, it was also a disaster, underperformed. It did
Oh yeah.
really well for a little bit, but then they took on so much debt. But that said, what do you think of it chart wise, Kevin? Is it starting to look better, or is it still on a death
No,
row?
no, no. I always like to go through the different time frames, and here's the monthly. This is VTRS, Viatris, the artist formerly known as Mylan, and it's breaking this uptrend. Now, this isn't ironclad, and it could come back down through it. But if you spent what is it, almost 10 years in the desert, and you can finally break through, that's pretty impressive. Something
Okay.
is changing, and as long as that progress continues, I think you have a winner here. My eye is drawn to this level here at frankly, basically 13 and a half. So it's the same kind of thing as before. It doesn't take much to I'd like to see a close above this other red line on big volume, and then you kind of say it's safe to go into the water again, and maybe even build a bigger position.
Yeah,
All
that's
right.
the thing is, what I found is a lot of times enough time passes and there's so much turnover at either hedge funds or mutual funds, and they forget what business this is, and they're like, oh,
That's right. They should
this
relook
looks
at it.
yeah, we
Yeah.
should
It was
relook
up
at
on
it.
the
And that's
screen. Yeah.
yeah, it screens really great, and they're like, oh, do you remember that management team? Now the management team has completely changed over. The board has
Okay.
completely changed over, and that's great because for a while the old CEO was with the board as well. So this is it is a
Fresh
good
start
change,
here.
but a very slow growth company, and slow growth generic companies can turn negative growth pretty quickly. So that's one thing. That's one reason that I worry about it and size wise. But it is probably too cheap to ignore at this point for most people. If you're a healthcare investor, you're like, okay, how much am I going to get blown up on it? It is a generic company, so you can get blown up, but it's not so bad. I actually kind of like it.
Do they have these arrangements where they get paid to stay off the market, and there's sort of a wink wink nudge nudge with the branded company? Do they still do that, or is that verboten?
So it's verboten supposedly. They always
Okay.
find ways to get around it. But the FTC has had a hard time prosecuting these. They say they're going to go after them, but they really don't. And so there are still a lot of those types of deals. They're like, well, and in a nutshell, what happens is a generic company says, I'm going to launch this generic on you, brand company. And the brand company says, well, no, we're going to sue you because you're infringing our patent.
Right.
And then they say, okay, well, let's settle the case.
Yeah.
Now the problem is you can't tell people not to settle cases, right?
Yeah.
Right.
And then the FTC says, well, yes, you can. You could say that this is anti-competitive. Say, well, it's not anti-competitive. It's a risky case. I don't know if we're going to win.
Right. I want to pay.
So
Right. You're going to pay for me going to trial. Right. Exactly.
yeah. So that's in a nutshell of kind of how, but I still think that it is pay for play or pay for delay. And that's, it still goes on, but It's not a big part of their earnings. It's not like what drives it is, will people still pay for generics, and are they getting new launches? The new launches are really what matters, and Teva and Mylan are good at getting new launches.
Cool. On to
I like it.
bakes. Bakes. What are you looking at today?
I'm looking at a few things. REMX is my rare earths
I
way
own
to
that.
participate.
What do we do?
Van Eck rare earth, and I'm in here at September of last year. I don't know, right around here or so. I'm up 26%. It's extended. I wouldn't, I frankly, this isn't investment advice. It's just what I own, not what I'm
Yes.
buying. But, clearly, lithium, this is very lithium heavy. And I mentioned lithium way back when. I just said, hey, something's going on here. Well, it turned out to be something really substantial. And, MP and Albemarle ALB are looking fantastic. And this whole, you mentioned rare earths now in China, and you almost get a bid just by uttering that. It's almost like Voldemort. So I think this continues. I think it's great. I just want to let people know that we put ideas out with our own money, and they end up making money. So I'm a fan. I'm holding on to this. This is another one where when it grows to be 14-15% of my portfolio, I pull it back to 10, and I'm probably pretty close to doing that.
That's big. Okay.
Sorry?
That's a big allocation. I mean, I own it, but not as big of an allocation as you're talking about.
Yeah, and I, for better or for worse, I created this discipline from the battle scars of the past, and I go through 5,300 ETFs. I find the 10 best, and I'm ruthless about cutting my losses, which is why I'm letting my winners run. My winners make up for my losers. I'm up 18% year to date. I know I'm tempting the stock market gods by doing that, but I'm an incremental seller of the metals since I became the metals fund back in June, July, August, September of last year. I'm not naive that these pullbacks can be fairly brutal, and I'm not going. There's no perfect way to do it, but I've had platinum and silver double for me, PLTM and SIL, and I've cut those in half. So I'm letting the house money run with that one, and I just want to give people my sense of the strategy. I've been very vocal on this, on the metals overall, and these three in particular. And I just want to update people and keep my feet to the fire and keep myself honest, frankly.
Yeah. So one of the positions I asked you to take a look at, because I was with you in terms of, we had big gold positions for a lot of our clients last year, and silver, palladium, copper, and then I switched. I think it was late last year, started going more into industrial metals, right? Because they were the boring part of the group. And I think I had asked you to take a look at DBB. I don't know if you did that and can bring it up.
Yep.
Be curious on your thoughts on that.
Yeah, I'm looking at my notes. This is most of the base metals. This isn't one particular one, right? So
It's a collective.
The coppers and the nickels and what have you. This looks good. The monthly is where I think this is informative. You have this long term level. And this is art and science, but taking it above 23, I mean, this is resistance going back 20 years, literally. Okay, the first time they started this fund. And, there aren't too many people here that are going to be selling stocks on your head. I'll use copper as an example. Spot copper, I think when it closes above 6 definitively, it's going north more than it has. I obviously like lithium, nickel, so I think that this break above 23 is very, very telling. And look at the volume. That's someone saying, okay.
Starting coming in, yeah. Yeah,
So
I've started to see people write about it, by the way. And so I don't know if I don't even remember if I've talked about it on here, but that was something that we added to. Like I didn't take away gold, I trimmed some for people, and then started adding in base metals. And I like the DBB. There's other, and I own REMX. That's different, right? But for those who can't own international, locally listed companies, this is one way you could play it through a US ETF. And if the AI theme continues to go and you need the more inputs, this is one way I think that you could play it, especially for like boring build outs. This is boring build outs on the more unsexy type metals. And especially if they're going to have to build a lot in Europe, they're going to be building in Asia. Just a large build out will just require this stuff. So if you think the economy is falling off a cliff, you don't want this. But if you think that they're going to be investing and needing these kind of inputs, then you would. It's kind of so looking at it historically is important from call it a trading perspective. But I appreciate what you're saying in terms of the breakout, because just like they're saying, hey, gold might be breaking out for other reasons than historical reasons, you might be seeing that here too. But for obviously different story.
yeah, and I think 26 and 30 are the next steps where, I become more convinced it's a longer term bull trend as those
Yeah.
levels get taken out. And you've got to decide how to size it so that you're
Yeah.
comfortable.
Yeah, and I like to do it in terms of like a collective, right? Is that I'm not all industrial metals. I'm not all like I think of it as popcorn popping. So when you're putting things in your portfolio, right? Just as David was saying that he's boop, just
Bless
like,
you.
for different reasons, is that that's why we had a lot in EM last year, and a lot of people like until the end of the year when they're realizing and woke up, hey, EM actually did better than US tech. Like, a lot of things don't get those kinds of stories because it's not on the typical TV radar or radar until it's already happened. And so one of the other things I asked you to take a look at, so I don't know if you did, is the India, right? INDA. Because in
That's
terms of
funny because
EMs, that was
that
last.
showed up. That showed up in my work last night on my own, and I
Okay.
was going to bring it up, and then I decided
Okay.
to do my two others because I think you and I are on the same page with
So we've
INDA.
owned it though. So we're already in it. And so let's say you have individual clients or families who obviously can't own. Like India's a tougher place to trade locally. But this is one way you just own the market, right? Versus having to pick stocks. What are you thinking about this?
I don't like it. I was coming in from the
Yeah.
bearish side. This gap
Well,
down, I
everybody
don't
hates
like.
it. I'm just telling you, everybody hates it. Nobody's in it.
Yeah, and the volume's picking up here. I made a note to look at the monthly. This is some kind of support, but I want it to hold here. If it
Okay.
if it if it picks up, I think you're going down to 38 or so. Now is that
Okay.
right? Hold on. I got to get my glasses up. Sorry, my bad. That's how bad my eyes are. 47 or so, which isn't that isn't catastrophic, but I don't like the fact that the volume is picking up and is gapping to the downside. So that to me, this is what I wanted to do. The weekly, close below the 200 day. I don't like that. The 200 day turns down. I don't like that. And then the 50 slices down through the 200 back here. So that's sort of 53
Right.
ish
All right,
that
you're on the
I
short side on that. Well, we'll
I'm not.
come
I'm
back
not.
to
I'm
this
not.
because
On
it's
the, I'm not on the
interesting.
short side. I'm on the avoid side. Is a
Okay.
better way
Okay.
to put it. I don't have and I don't have a strong fundamental view of any of the components inside
Okay.
this index. But I just eyeball it and say, for me, I would say goodbye at 53 back here. Go find some other wars. And if you have an ironclad fundamental reason why this gap is not concerning, that's great. To me, I just as a technician, a chartist, I don't like a gap down on big volume and a
Yeah.
relative strength
Sure.
low. So if it
Sure.
stops here, it's fine. But if it continues, I get more concerned.
Sure. Yeah, I think this for me is more to before China had its big ramp. Remember how it was so unloved and no liquidity there, and everyone was everywhere else. And so I think that your point is valid. There's a risk of being early here. So I want to say that to people. But sometimes that's when you have to start to think about something, do that research, see if it fits in your purview. Our view is a little bit more of if growth does I guess, surprise to the upside globally. And as people look to diversify their trade partners, India is one place that has not technically, from that stock perspective, seen the same kind of love. And there was a lot of concerns, I'd say, around, oh, are some of the businesses there going to be disintermediated by AI, that kind of thing. But I think if you look at the growth there, if you look at people wanting to do business there, Apple otherwise, it could be a timing issue, but that is certainly a place that warrants a little bit of time spent to see when you might want to enter that. That's all. And then if the USD continues to depreciate, obviously EM tends to do well. So got a various types of things. Again, the what David seems to love now, that popcorn popping. So yeah, put a little bit of cheese on that popcorn.
Like some popcorn. Well, no, you're right. You have to. Well, also, did you see the that India announced that they're going to cut back on Russian oil purchases, and so
Which is
maybe
good
you have
for a
a
trade deal. Right.
So
That's
there
another
you
thing.
go.
Yeah. That's one of the things, right? The trade partners is that like if they're going to buy less from them, then you'll probably see a trade deal inked. That was another thing for us. I bet that'll happen in 2026, and then you'll see companies announcing things because a lot of people just don't want to like get the administration mad, so they don't want to be seen to be outsourcing to India right now. But they do want partnerships there, so I think you'll see a lot more headlines when something is solidified at the governmental level, and then then you're going to be just writing headlines at that point, even prior to growth. So that's it. It's 7:35. People got to get to the markets here. So I want to say thanks, Kevin. Thanks, David. I'm Nadine here for Wall
Thanks,
Street Beats,
Nadine.
powered by Pass It. It's Thursday. You got one more day. Hang on, everybody. Hang on. Take care.
Hang on for one more day. Isn't that a song, Kevin?
Thanks, Jen. I don't know that one, David. I'm sorry.
Bye, guys.
All right.